Well, good evening everyone, and welcome to the NXTGEN Racing Multi-Class League, Round 2 of the Championship, our second week of this season. We come to you live from the Motorland Aragon circuit in Alcañiz, Spain. Before we get underway, before we introduce the track, let's introduce the series. If you're new to the series, you won't be familiar with all of these specifications of the series, but if you are familiar, it's just a reminder, this is a multi-class league featuring the LMDH cars and GT3 cars from iRacing. LMDH is also translated to GTP in other series, and others call it the prototypes. This series is the Season 5 of NXTGEN's running of endurance-style cars and races, and we're in Round 2 tonight. Realistic weather will be featured in this series, and why that's significant? Well, it's because it's the first of this league, the endurance-style, multi-class style league for NXTGEN, which can feature wet weather or raining weather. And it's significant because it will be a complete unknown for the drivers within this league. It's a complete unknown for us in terms of who will shine best in those trickier conditions and interchangeable conditions and weather. So it's very exciting in that case. At the moment we've forecasted no rain for tonight's race. It is very cloudy above us here in Alcañiz, Spain, but we are expecting no treacherous weather for the time being anyway, but anything can change. A little bit about the series. There are two different formats of races which will feature in this series. For round 2 today, it will be the regular sprint race and feature race format, which we were familiar with last week, of course, which means we'll have 25 minutes of qualifying to introduce us today, followed by a 20-minute sprint race, and then there will be a 60-minute feature race which will feature a pit stop. For this season, everyone is on fixed setups. Each individual car has its own individual setup that everybody who shares that car uses the same setup. The only thing the drivers can change within the car is traction control, anti-lock braking system and brake bias. That is the only thing they can change in the cars. They can't change wing angle, they can't change damper settings, nothing like that. It is all fixed setup, which means the cars are even from one another, but it does mean that certain cars will shine on certain circuits more so than others. We'll have to keep an eye on that as the series goes on. A big shout out to the sponsors and affiliates of NXTGEN Racing. They are Benji Sim Photos, who you saw some of the photos in slideshow just before we came live on air then. Mark Sykes Designs with Higgins Automotive, Powermax Racing, Motorsport UK Esports Division, Sam Cases, Joyce Design, Douglas Motorsport and IMB Racewear. The calendar for this season, 10 rounds await us. We are in round 2 right now. We started off last week on the 23rd of May at the Mugello circuit in central Italy, and we now venture west in Europe to Motorland Aragon. Not the most popular Spanish circuit in the world, but a very good one nonetheless. We'll go through a little bit of facts and details about the circuit very shortly, but the rest of the season is as follows. Next week, we'll be at Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, just down the road from me, and it will be a 2-hour endurance. The first of the 2-hour endurances to feature in this season. Very excited for that, and because it's Britain, expect some bad weather. That'll be the first 2-hour endurance race of the season. Round 4 of the championship will be featured at the Indianapolis road course, and of course they just hosted the Indy 500 over there, which is an oval race with oval open wheel style cars, but this will be the road course in endurance style cars, and we'll be back to the sprint and feature race format for that round 4 of the season. Round 5, probably a more familiar track with endurance style racing, is Road Atlanta, which of course features and hosts the Petit Le Mans, which is normally in the latter end of the year. That'll host round 5 of the season. Round 6, a track we are very familiar with endurance racing, and of course it's going to feature the 2-hour endurance. The second 2-hour endurance of the season will be hosted at Sebring on the 4th of July. How fitting. And round 7 of the championship will host at the latest iteration of circuits to be added to iRacing. It will be the Algarve International Circuit, which is otherwise known as Portimao, hosted in the south of Portugal. Will be hosted on the 11th of July. Spa-Francorchamps, classic circuit in any form of motorsport, will host round 8 of the championship. Imola will host round 9 of the championship. We've just been there in the Formula 1. A beautiful Italian circuit will host the penultimate round of the championship and the last of the sprint and feature race format races. And the final round, where else is it going to end? It's going to end at the Circuit of Le Mans, of course. The 1st of August will be the final round of the championship, where it all comes down to the wire, and it will be a 2-hour endurance just to finish off that season. So that is season 5 of the championship. And we're here at the Motorland Aragon circuit. Round 2 of the championship here in the Alcañiz region of Spain. Other tracks from Spain that are on iRacing, they have in recent years been introduced to iRacing, but they feature tracks such as Aragon here, the Catalunya-Barcelona circuit, Jerez and Jarama, the tracks that feature and host in Spain on iRacing. This track, hold the pitchforks everyone, this track is designed by Herman Tilke, did you know? Most tracks nowadays are, and it's a bit of a Marmite subject, I would say, Herman Tilke building circuits, but I'd say he's done alright here. It's it can be a little bit flat at times, apart from some corners on this track which are quite notable, but it's a very modern circuit, FIA grade 1 circuit, so it can host Formula 1, it can host WEC, it does host MotoGP, and in fact over the years it has hosted the likes of MotoGP and the World Superbike Championship, a very popular circuit for bike racing. It has also hosted the European Le Mans Series, which is very apt, very fitting for what we're racing tonight, and has also hosted the World Touring Car Cup. Aragon is about 220 kilometers north of Valencia, 240 kilometers west of Barcelona, and about 375 kilometers east of Madrid. So it's quite a central location in terms of all the cities and airports that are within Spain. So it's logistically fairly decent for teams and drivers to journey to. But today we're racing on the outer layout. So it's not a layout that people who have seen Aragon racing on the TV quite often, and actually last week I do wonder if the admins heard me and listened to me, because the admins, because I said on the stream last week it'd be very good if we race the outer loop, because it's got a big long straight, which means we're going to see tremendously high speeds. But it seems that the admins must have listened to me and must have taken on my advice and have decided we're going to race there this week, so thank you admins. It's an adaptation of the FIM Grand Prix layout, which MotoGP race, but we're missing the inner corners of turns 12 and 15. This layout has 14 turns, officially has 14 turns. There's 9 to the right and 5 to the left. It's a 3.1 mile circuit, or 4.98 kilometers. And it's going to be interesting tonight. Now we're doing the outer loop, I decided let's take a look at the kind of speeds we'll be doing in these cars. And I managed to see that the prototypes were hitting 197 miles per hour along that back straight, and the GT3's hitting 172. So it's very quick. It's going to be along the same kind of pace as your Le Mans and your Spas, potentially Silverstone, but yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting tonight. There's actually a fair few overtaking opportunities, and it's quite a wide circuit, so we're going to see plenty of side-by-side action. So let's get down to the live action here. Let's see who's out on the track at the moment. Not many drivers out on the track at the moment. They're probably watching the live stream, aren't they? But yeah, we got 1 minute until qualifying. So what we will do very, very quickly is we will go over the championship standings as we come into tonight. Very briefly, we'll go over them. So we have 5 different categories to look over. 2 in the prototypes, 3 in the GT3s. They are labelled in bronze, silver and gold. The prototypes don't have a bronze category, but the GT3s do. So there's 5 categories to look at. William Guthrie is at the top of the prototype golds on 45 points, 9 points ahead of Max de Leiden, and in 3rd place is Benjamin McCluskey. William Guthrie, of course, won both races in the prototype gold last week. We move on to the silver category of the prototypes, and it is Miguel Alpalau on the top of the standings, tied there with Pedro Ramada. Now, each of them shared victory last time out at the Mugello circuit, but Alpalau did better in the sprint race, having not won the feature race, and therefore they're both tied on points heading out of round 1 are the e-racecraft drivers. And Mark Baker rounds off the top 3. The GT3 Golds. Now, a double victory for Karol Pachałka sees him at the top of the standings on 46 points and 12 points clear of Kieran Smart. And fellow full tilt driver along with Pachałka is Jesse Payne-Wilkins in 3rd place on 30 points. GT3 Silvers. Now in the Silvers, Kevin Stringer won race 1, and race 2, the feature race, was won by Matthew Sheraton, who leads the championship by 1 point over the sprint race winner, Kevin Stringer. And rounding off the top 3 is Nigel Stock, who had 2 4th place finishes, nice and consistent last week, to get himself in the top 3 in the championship heading into tonight. And the bronze category. Kevin Smith took the win in the feature race, and he leads the standings from Stephen de Gravelia in 2nd place and Elwin Sykes in 3rd position. Jeffrey Kruger did win the sprint race but did not start the feature race, I believe, so he's down in 6th place. So there we go, that is the championship standings heading into tonight as we start qualifying now. So the way qualifying goes is it's a 25-minute session, but the first half of the session will be the GT3s setting their laps, and then the second half of the session the prototypes will set their laps. So it means there's no kind of last minute overtaking or last minute shutting the door and otherwise of different category of cars getting close together in qualifying. Is a nice fair way to keep them separate and to keep them focusing on themselves and not worrying so much about back markers. So I think it's a good way of doing that. So we're going to do a lap of the Aragon circuit, and we're going to do it on board of the championship leader in said category. It is Karol Pachałka, who won 2 races last week, of course. So here we go, down the main straight as we head towards turn number 1. You can get over the track limits quite a lot on this track. It's very lenient here. There's a little bump on the inside you have to target but not hit because it will ruin your suspension. 90-degree left-hander and then into a flat-out right-hander. Near flat-out 3rd corner. Fully flat out actually is Karol Pachałka there into turn 4 and braking whilst turning into turn 5. It's a corner that just seems to go on forever and starts going uphill, and you can see the rear end giving way on Karol Pachałka as he headed round turn 5. King to the right is turn 6, and then turn 7, another corner that just seems to go on forever and is still uphill. We'll get to the crest of the hill and we'll head downhill into the corkscrew section. Yes, this is called the corkscrew. It is Spain's very own Laguna Seca corkscrew. Probably not quite as hard as Laguna Seca's, but it's still quite hard nonetheless. That was turns 8 and 9, and now round 10, the Marc Marquez curve we go. Now we're on to the good stuff here. Keep an eye on that dashboard to the lower right of our screen there, as you'll see the speeds go higher and higher and higher. Up to 6th gear we'll go with Pachałka. He's got a little bit of a slipstream ahead of him. At the very end of that straight we're going to go, and it's going to be a long left-hander on the MotoGP layout for turns 13 and 14, which will end the lap. It's really not a long lap here at Motorland Aragon, but here we go. Over the curb we go. Late turn in, but it's going to be a hard apex here, following the curb all the way around, putting the throttle down as you leave the curb there. That looked like a very sweet lap indeed from our championship leader, Karol Pachałka. Pennyworth is the first on the board, but Pachałka goes to the top with a 1:34, which looks very competitive compared to what we did see in practice earlier on. I took a quick peek at the times before we ended, and that seems pretty competitive. Gavin Gardner, didn't see much of him in the opening race of the season, but he's there in 2nd place. 9/10 down though from Pachałka, so it's quite a statement of intent from our championship leader very early on here. Kruger is the first to get himself on the board in the GT3 bronzes, but it's Andy Rooney in a livery that looks very unlike the classic Alpine livery. Quite impressed with that full tilt livery there. Very nice. But Rooney goes to the top of the standings. He's in the bronze category, having followed Jeffrey Kruger. Oh no, it wasn't. It was someone just ahead of Rooney as he takes a spin. Oh, in turn 5 there, and he collides with another car that seemed to be Elwin Sykes he made collision with. But that'll be a reset to the pits for Andy Rooney, and you have to head back out on track to set more times. Jake Pitt takes to the top of the standings in the GT3 silver category. at the moment, driving in the Aztec Racing Porsche 911. And speaking of, let's just take a quick look at the cars we are using in this series. We got in the GTP prototypes, we've got the Acura made by Honda, of course, the BMW Hybrid, the Cadillac V Series, the Porsche 968, and in the GT3s there are 6 cars to choose from: the Audi R8, the BMW M4, the Ferrari 296, the Lamborghini Huracan, the Mercedes AMG, and the Porsche 911. Back to qualifying. Ben Altra goes to second in the standings for Full Tilt Motorsports Blue, even though the car is green. And he is 6/10 off of Pachauka as he gets his banker lap in there. In terms of numbers of drivers in this server at the moment, it's close on 40 in here today, and I believe there was a few more in here at Mugello, but a lot of people are on holidays, I believe. One driver we didn't see last week that we are seeing this week is Daniel Fritz from Down Under. So quite a big flight to get himself over here to race in tonight's race. So bravo to Daniel for the long haul over here. I mean, where he actually is, it's going to be very early in the morning actually. So I hope he's had his lattes, hope he's had his granola and got himself ready for this race today. It would be good to see how he gets on. Third at the moment, so pretty good at the moment, representative of the bronze category. Sheridan goes to the top of the standings, is at the top of the standings, should I say here, but not by much, ahead of Jake Pitt. Just behind Sheridan here, also in the silver category, is Jake Pitt. And Jake Pitt is getting quite a draft off his teammate there, so these two working together and doing it very finely, it's got to be said. And this might help Jake Pitt get to the top of the standings. We'll see if it does. Jake Pitt crosses the line. No, he doesn't. That might have been an invalid lap. Might have just not been as good a lap. But Jake Pitt right behind Sheraton now, which is really not going to help his lap times. It's better to be about 3 or 4 car lengths behind the car in front if you're of a similar pace time, so you can benefit from the slipstream. This is rather close, but I just wonder if Sheraton and Pitt seem satisfied with what they've done thus far. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Ricardo Santos in the GT3 Golds. Now, he had a very good outing last time out. He led the majority of race 2 last time out in the GT3 Golds, but he did lose the lead to Pachauka towards the end. He has set a lap, but I would say he's still got some work to do. He's more than a second off the pace, but he's coming in probably for some fresh boots, fresh tyres, and you head back out there. But this thing, qualifying for these guys are going to end. We're already about halfway through this qualifying session for these GT3s, so they've really not got much time and not much opportunities to get themselves to set laps. It's quite a short lap here, so there are opportunities. But as the time ticks, and it's actually where I said earlier, it's actually very lenient here for track limits. The caveat to that is you're more tempted to go beyond the track limits and you end up with more off-track incidents, as they're called. So it's something that can catch out the drivers on a track like this. Edwin Forslund, I don't think we saw him last week actually, but no, the Scandinavian driver driving for Sim Race Sweden, second in the standings at the moment, just shy of 6/10 behind our pole sitter currently. So a good lap for Forslund to get himself into a good grid position within this category. Payne Wilkins comes across the line and has just put himself from low down in the standings to 6th place in the category. So a good banker lap for him. I would say, let's take a look at his time. He's just over a second behind Karol Pachauka at the moment. At the moment, Pachauka is the only one in the 34s. The majority of the field seem to be within the 35s and 36s at the moment. So Pachauka's really casting that light that he might be the favourite for this season at the moment within these GT3s. If Mugello was anything to go by, qualifying right here is another thing to look out for. But of course, we've got those reverse grids in the feature races to consider. The reverse grids based off the sprint race results. And of course, you win the sprint race, you end up at the back of your category within the next race, the feature race. So you have got a lot of people to overtake, including your rivals. So I said it quite a few times last time, catching one thing, passing is another, and it certainly is within this series. 22 GT3 cars are on the standings, there's 23 on track. The only one that hasn't set a lap yet is Alan McCain. He's in the gold category, and we'll see what he can do shortly. Got to keep an eye on Ricardo Santos. We saw he was quite good last week, and we need to see if he can get himself up those standings. At the moment, 11th overall in the gold category, and of course, the grid for this will place you wherever you are overall within the car category, the car class. Of course, Ricardo Santos will end up in amongst the silver category cars, of which he's not racing, so he's got to get himself a good lap here to get himself into the top 8 overall. He's 8th in category at the moment, 11th overall. So we'll see what he can do on this lap. Let's see if we can get the sectors up and see how he's getting on there. Well, that's a little bit annoying. It's a little bit in the way there, but let's see if there's another visual we can get on the screen that will show us how he's getting on sectors-wise. Let's just keep an eye on him. He's heading towards the final part of the lap anyway. The sun is coming out a little bit. Oh, he's gone a little bit wide there. I would say that's not the optimal line through the corner. He's had to back off a little bit more. Not the optimal exit as a result from the final 2 corners. But he'll come across the line. Where will Ricardo Santos end up? He's still where he is. He's only really got one more opportunity to set a lap, because the prototypes are going to be heading onto the circuit very, very soon. And these guys will be given the usher by the stewards, by race control, that their laps will soon be over. Their opportunities for laps will soon be over. Alan McCain has put himself on the board, but he's 16th overall. Jeffrey Kruger has just put himself into 2nd place in the bronze category, so got himself closer to Andy Rooney, only 0.1 of a second behind. Gardner may have just put in his final lap. In fact, he has. He's pulling off there. 3rd he has just put himself into, so a good final lap there from the Brit in the Ferrari. Ben Altria, let's see if he can improve his time. He's 4th at the moment in category, 4th overall, of course. And no, pulls over before the line, I believe that is. So there's only a few cars remaining out on track in the GT3s, and the prototypes are now heading onto the track. They are ready to start their qualifying. Now, the prototypes are a little bit different. Whereas the GT3s can just drive round and round and just try and get as good a times as possible, the prototypes have to generate hybrid charge, which means they have to stamp on the brakes effectively and turn the car erratically, and also generate heat in those tyres in doing so. But Jake Pitter bought his lap here. I think Ricardo Santos... yep, there we go. Ricardo Santos is giving it another go. He's put himself 6th, so he's just managed to get that banker lap to get himself in the gold field and he's now 6th. But yes, the hybrids have to charge up their systems in order to deploy it on the straights when the power is down, and it means their flying lap, they'll use all their hybrid deployment, and then the next lap they'll have to charge it up, and then they'll use it all on the next lap. So it's very much an on-off kind of thing with these prototypes. Start of the show last week certainly was William Guthrie of Full Tilt Motorsport Green, and we'll do a lap on board with him, our championship leader in the gold category of prototypes. So here we go, in the Acura, heading up the main straight. Look how quick we're going already in these prototypes. And as I said, they're just shy of 200 miles per hour without draft, bear in mind. So we'll have to see how Guthrie gets on here. But look how quick he's going through these corners. It's incredible how much downforce and ground effect these cars have got. First gear heading around this corner here at 70 miles per hour. First gear again, so actually it's got quite a long range, has this these prototypes cars. Oh, there's a spin just ahead, I believe. I have a feeling that might have been Paul Williams. But it means Guthrie has not got a slipstream down this straight here. So let's see how fast he can go. 192, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 200. We did hit 200 miles per hour, as we are, of course, on full hybrid deployment. 200 miles per hour hit in these prototypes on this circuit. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Because last week at Mugello actually was... It is probably one of the more technical of all the tracks we are actually running this series. If you take a look at that, Road Atlanta, you could say, is probably more technical than Mugello, I suppose. But I guess Road Atlanta has got more... Well, I don't know, actually. Yeah, Mugello and Road Atlanta are actually quite close when it comes to technicality of a circuit. But Aragon perhaps more diverse with its slow corners to very long straights, and generally the average speed here of these prototypes is around about, if I do my quick maths in my head, is around about 137 miles per hour average speed around this circuit, so it's quite quick actually. So Guthrie has already put himself to the top of the standings in the GT3s, and we are getting some of the... Well, actually, there are actually two drivers. McCluskey and Miguel Alpalau haven't actually done very good laps, so I think they're still charging up the hybrid. And actually, I think there are a couple of other drivers who are also doing the same. Let's just get a track map on so we can see whereabouts drivers are. There's not many prototypes out on track at the moment, actually. If we go to Diogo Sá, who... new tonight, I believe. I don't think we saw him last time out, unless I'm mistaken. Was very quick in practice. And he's currently top of the standings. Albeit more than a second behind Guthrie at the moment. But Diogo Sá certainly is a driver worth keeping an eye on, because practice, he was very, very quick indeed. Now a reminder, there's only two categories in the prototypes here, gold and silver. There's more drivers in the GT3s, so they have more categories, and there's actually a larger range of capability in drivers in the GT3s. Because these prototypes, especially these LMDH cars, they're very difficult to handle, and so the lesser experienced driver won't necessarily enjoy driving these cars as much as they would the GT3 cars, which generally are a little bit more grounded and easier to control. A little bit less shocking, I would say, under acceleration and straight line speed and the time between corners, I suppose. But, you know, all cars require a certain level of skill, a certain style of driving, and certain drivers will pick the GT3s over the prototypes, of course, just on that alone. Me personally, I prefer driving the GT3s over the prototypes here, but I do love the LMP2 cars. Really, really enjoy driving them. So we got drivers popping up on the board. We did see McCluskey get himself onto the board, as well as Gaz Williams, both admins of the series. And calling them snakes, calling themselves Snakes Unite Racing. I wonder if that's a some sort of a play on the fact that they're admins of the series. I do wonder. It'd be nice to know the actual reason for that name, actually. Someone let me know in the comments if you do in fact know the story behind that name. Because I thought they'd have represented NXTGEN. But obviously not. Now, Miguel Alpalau is second in the Proto Silvers at the moment. Now, Alpalau won a race last week. He won the sprint race in the Silvers. As slotting right in between the two e-race car drivers in this session is Paul Williams in the replica Bentley livery. And I was talking about Forza Motorsport, remembering that livery back in the day on Forza Motorsport 2. But Paul Williams put himself second here in the standings right now. So a good time for him, competitive within his category. Only a few hundredths off of Diogo Sá at the moment, so he must feel he could probably eke out a little bit more from that car to get it higher up the standings and get himself pole position. Of course, there are bonus points for pole position. And fastest laps within the races. Right, there are two drivers that haven't set times yet. Rui Soares and Max de Leiden. And Max de Leiden, 2 podium placings last time out at Mugello. The Luxembourg driver is worth keeping an eye on here. Mugello suggests that he'd slot himself between Guthrie and McCluskey at the top of the standings here, but we'll see how he actually gets on when he completes this lap. Got a bit of slipstream ahead of him from an e-racecraft car. There we go, 4th in the standings. Now it's not really a big gap between 1st and 4th at the moment, below 3/4 of a second, so I'd say it's still quite competitive between those 4 in the gold standings at the moment. But de Leiden, he certainly will feel, and you can see he's really pushing on this lap, though he might have run out of hybrid. That's the only thing that has made me think a little bit. Might be trying to just keep up with the car ahead of him of Rui Soares. Of course, Rui Soares is another one that hasn't set a time yet, and actually de Leiden is looking very racy to get past the e-race car. And de Leiden backed off there, waiting for a car to shadow, a car to slipstream. But for qualifying at the moment, it is Guthrie at the top in the golds and Diogo Sá at the top in the silvers. Just 3 minutes remaining in qualifying. Of course, they get to complete their laps that they start before, of which the checkered flag waves. Similar principle with the GT3s, but earlier on in the session and operated manually by human race control. A lot of drivers on the side here charging up their hybrid. A lot of these drivers will feel this is their final opportunity for a good lap. There's a couple of drivers starting their laps now. There's a couple of drivers heading towards the corkscrew right now. One of them is Paul Williams, and he has got Hugo Silva. Oh, a bit glitchy then on the iRacing then. Oh, and he goes wide there, so that means he's pulling to the side and he's reset. So that'll be the end of Paul Williams qualifying, which must be relieving, if he's aware, for Diogo Sá here, as he pulls over, and he might have got the message. Did he actually extend his lead? He didn't. He didn't. But he lets through his teammate, Miguel Alplau, who is just shy of 1/4 of a second down from the car ahead of Williams, and about 1/4 of a second behind his teammate Sá. We've got 6th in category, Dwayne Hoffman. We spoke to him on broadcast in the interview room last time at Mugello. Very nice chap. And he pulled to the inside there, couldn't quite figure out why. Rui Soares has put himself on the standings, 7th though. So he's in amongst the silver drivers, as is Jamie Dory, as is Hugo Silva. Ben McCluskey is going to cross the line. I got a feeling that was a warm-up lap, and now he's going for it full beans. Behind him also, oh, it's not Gaz Williams, is Max de Leiden, so not too far behind. I'm not sure if de Leiden's going to be picking up a slipstream at all. In fact, I don't think he will. McCluskey is far up ahead, but at the same time, when drivers are up ahead, you look at the relative and you do think, yep, I'm going to see if I can catch that geezer ahead. See if use it as motivation for setting the laps, of course. Diogo Sá will cross the line, and potentially another lap is potent. Jamie Dory crosses the line, 6th, and still 6th. This might well be the lap that he goes for it. Gaz Williams approaches the line. Might have... Was this a quick lap? It looks like a quick lap. Comes across the line. Gaz Williams stays third. Rui Soares will come across the line here. Stays seventh. Now McCluskey coming to the end of his lap here, as we saw him and Gaz Williams start their lap not too long ago. McCluskey couldn't beat Guthrie though, and the leading comes across the line, stays fourth, so couldn't quite improve from the lap we saw earlier on. There are a few drivers still out there, including the silver category pole holder at the moment. But I suppose with Alpalau really not too far behind, Diogo Sá will see every opportunity as an opportunity to improve, but Alpalau aborts his lap and goes straight into the pits. So I would say Diogo Sá is clean here to stay pole position, which he does. Does he improve his time now? No, he doesn't. So we saw a lot of the prototype drivers get their laps in earlier, not able to improve later on. It could be a weather, track degradation thing, could be just a nerves thing. Not too sure, but that's the trend we kind of saw with these prototype drivers, is their better times were well and truly at the start of the session. As Gaz Williams finishes his final lap, which I don't think was a flyer, as I think we saw him use his flying lap just before that one. But there we go, that'll be qualifying. There's your top 5 in each of the categories. But we'll go through the grid before we start the race, and we're going to see if we can get through the whole grid before we start the race. We've got 37 drivers here at the Motorland Aragon circuit today, here for the second round of the championship in this multi-class league, featuring prototypes and GT3s. We are going to go straight into the race as soon as the qualifying timer has ticked over. And before we grid up, just a reminder of the format of the series. There is realistic weather, so it can change from rain to sunny to rain to whatever in this series. But the format we're following today is the sprint race 20 minutes and feature race 60 minutes. Right now, we've got the sprint race of 20 minutes coming up. So here's the grid for our opening race of the night in the prototypes at the front here. We've got William Guthrie at the front with Ben McCluskey alongside. Gaz Williams will start third with Max de Leiden in fourth position. First of the silver category in the prototypes is Diogo Sá with Paul Williams in sixth. Diogo Sá will of course get the bonus point for being pole within his category. Miguel Alpalau in 7th position with Hugo Silva in 8th place alongside. On the 5th row is Nathan Healy with Jamie Dory in 10th position. Rui Soares in 11th place with Jorge Bentes in 12th position. Dwayne Hoffman will qualify 13th in the silvers with Wesley Lewin in 14th position. The GT3s now with Karol Puchalka in 15th position, and alongside him is Edwin Forsland. Gavin Gardner will line up 17th with Ben Altria alongside in 18th. 19th and 20th will be Russ Fowler and Ricardo Santos, with Jesse Payne-Wilkins in 21st and Edwin Simpson in 22nd. First of the silvers will be Matthew Cheverton, and he'll get his bonus point for being pole in the silvers, and Jake Pitt will line up alongside him on that 12th row. Ben Bennyworth will line up 25th with Baz Meacham in 26th, Nigel Stock in 27th. Pole position and the bonus point for the bronze category in GT3s will be Andy Rooney of Full Tilt Motorsports, with Jeffrey Kruger starting on the next row in 29th. Alan McCain will line up 30th, with Daniel Fritz from Down Under will start 31st alongside the Belgian driver of Steven de Grevelier. Elwin Sykes will start third with his compatriot and teammate Davide Favo in 34th position. And the final three will be Mike Reedner, Phil McDougall and Andy Chell, rounding off the grid. And just in time, the drivers move away. So, in this series, the prototypes will start first in their group, and then around about 5 seconds up the road in terms of relative time on track will be the GT3 starting in their own groups separately. But we're approaching the final corner here. It's a very short warm-up. It's again to help fuel preservation for these drivers. But William Guthrie will lead them behind the safety car to the line and will be underway for the first sprint race of the night. They must wait until the marshal waves green. And foot goes down now. There's a lot of drivers dispersing here. And away we go with the prototypes. And back here, the GT3s are also underway. Oh, very, very wide there from Andrew Williams, I believe it was. And back here, the GT3s. Pachalka does lead away in the GT3s. And just behind him is Forsland. They stay 1, 2, 3. Pachalka, Forsland and Gardner in the GT3s coming out of turns 1 and 2 and 3. Seems... Oh, there is a spinner at the back there. I think that was Jamie Dory getting a little bit sideways heading out of turn number 6 there. And he's at the back here. Oh, and there's a collision here. Hugo Silva. As we see Jamie Dory there heading off wide. And there's a move there. Oh, rear end contact. And that is really going to mangle up the cars there. And those cars will have to come into the pit. It is Hugo Silva and someone else. And there's a car off in the background there. I think that was Jorge Bentes. My word, it is. We have to see what happened there between them two. And I think Wesley Lewin is the other driver involved. So I believe it was Jorge Bentes. Yeah, just up ahead there, who's got the rear ring missing. This is Wesley Lewin as we move into the corkscrew here. Lewin struggling under the brake in there as we head into the Marc Marquez curve. Oh, Jamie Dory just avoiding the car to the left there. And as we head around the corner, a spin there. Ah, and Lewin chose to go right, but it wasn't the right way to go. Had probably very little time to react. And as a result, it put them both in the tyres and it's ruined their race effectively. But the end of lap 1, Guthrie leads at the front of the prototypes. Alpelau has taken the lead in the silvers. Let me just see if there is a replay of that. I don't think there will be, actually. I don't think there is, unfortunately, but he's very close to the golds here, and his teammate Diogo Sá sticking close, very close behind here. Now, I don't think this is the point where teammates will work together on championships just yet. I think Alpelau would have outright gone for the move there. Nothing like Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon, it seems, because they're both still going in this race. But they can both work together to keep up with the golds here and break away from the silvers, which are a fair bit behind, as we see Paul Williams and Nathan Healy side by side here as we head down the back straight here. We'll go to the GT3s very shortly to check on them, but Matthew Healy has to tuck back behind. Now that's the thing with the prototypes, they have got great aerodynamics, but they will struggle due to their the gear ratios to overtake on that main straight. So it all has to be done by good exits from corners and in the tight corners, of course. So, in the GT3s, Karel Pachalka leads, but he has got Edwin Forsland, and look at that, the dummy move to the left from Pachalka, forces Forsland to the outside, can't overtake him on the outside there, he'll have to get a good run out of the corner. Now that's the thing, guarding into that corner is relatively easy actually, because if you force people to the outside, it's the harder place to overtake, as Forsland's looking to the inside, but shutting the door is Pachalka. He manages to be late enough on the brakes to be able to hold it. With a car slow to the side there, it was a GT3, I think that might have been Elwin Sykes. Let's just get a replay. Heading out the pits. Elwin Sykes. Not entirely sure what's going on here for Elwin. Might have equipment issues. Might be waiting for the traffic to pass by. And we have got another incident. Alan McCain has been involved somewhere. Oh, and those cars putting to the side there, rightfully letting the cars go. Ah, and a hit at the bump on the inside there for Alan McCain, and it sends him into the tyres, and that's going to be race over. And we have got another incident. Can't quite keep up with the live action at the moment. Stephen de Gravelia has had an incident. Go back to the live pictures. De Gravelia seems to be limping here. I don't think we managed to get a replay. I don't think it quite recorded it. Well, it may have. Not entirely sure, but it didn't quite capture the event there. But lots of drama going on at the moment. But speaking of the bronze category, it is Jeffrey Kruger out in front here, and he's keeping up with Nigel Stock, who's 4th in the silvers. So a really good stint at the moment here from Kruger in the sprint race, who won the sprint race at Mugello, remember. So this is very significant, as back here, Daniel Fritz, who is now letting through these prototype cars. They've already caught up. You think about the immense speed of these prototypes and the nature of this circuit. These prototypes are going to be meeting up with these GT3s pretty quickly. I think that was, in fact, trying to familiarise myself with the driver names here. That was one of the CSA drivers passing back through the GT3s. But it's quite a split-up field. We've got Santos here in the gold category. Behind the bronze category, we've also got Cheverton, who's the championship leader in the silvers, has dropped back quite a bit as well. So, as he struggled a little bit through turn number 5 there. So it's quite a bit of drama already in this race, and splitting up the categories in the GT3s anyway. Close still between Alpalau and Diogo Sá. In the prototypes, that looked like a tactical change in position there between Alpalau and Sá. And I wonder if that's because they're feeling a threat from Paul Williams back here. He's much closer than he was earlier. Maybe they're feeling the threat, and Sá maybe said to his teammate, you know what, I think I'm quicker. You go behind me and we'll see if we can break away. Top of the standings here, William Guthrie, more than 2 seconds lead over McCluskey. As Gaz Williams just about avoids the GT3 car there. And Max de Leiden hanging on, trying to get a sniff of those podium positions. McCluskey and Williams are teammates, so they will work together. As Gaz Williams gets a little bit closer to McCluskey down the straights here. But it's a very risky place to overtake in these prototypes because of the high speed of these cars and because of the length of that corner, I suppose. It's very difficult to make a move there. Monitoring this battle as well. Paul Williams back here, hunting down the top 2. I suppose this top 3 are relatively safe because the silvers really aren't having a good outing here. There's only 4 here in fighting position at the moment. Well, Dwayne Hoffman, where is he? Yeah, Dwayne Hoffman's back here. But he's the first of the drivers that really are in a strong position, I would say, overall, in this category. So it's not been a good start of the night for the silvers, it's got to be said. Now, Diogo Sá has moved ahead of Max de Leiden here. Now, I wonder what's happened to Max de Leiden there. Let's see if we can get a quick snap of that. See if we can find it. Yeah, Diogo Sá passed Max de Leiden. Now, he's right behind Williams and McCluskey here. Now, I wonder if it was a cut track penalty. There's back markers here. Whoa! That was close. He pulled out of that at the very last second. And there was a collision. That's Alan McCain. He made contact with Gaz Williams, and having to avoid it was Max de Leiden. And now he drops back to 5th overall. I think it was 5th overall, but Gaz Williams has dropped back here as well. So there we go. There are drivers that are struggling. Really struggling to get past the GT3s, and the GT3s alternatively struggling to keep it on the track with the prototypes all around them. I imagine it is pretty difficult because the GT3 cars are constantly turning into these corners here because there's really not that much straight line time on the infield section of this Aragon circuit. But we've seen Gaz Williams drop away and back behind Max de Leiden. So Max de Leiden got his podium, well, at the moment anyway. Nigel Stock has had drama. Something's happened to Nigel Stock. Now, that's Paul Williams coming through behind there, I believe. A little bit wide there, and takes a spin. Yeah, we saw similar from Nigel Stock last week where the brakes, they just don't seem to work on the rear tyres, it seems, on that car when it goes into sweeping corners. So we see here Max de Leiden getting back past Diogo Sá, and Diogo Sá will know that's not his battle But you've got the GT3 cars waiting for 2 prototype cars to pass at the same time as you're heading into the fastest corner on the track. It's quite nerve-wracking, actually. But we said it last time out at Mugello. This really is the point in the races where positions can be won and lost. With passing the GT3 cars for these prototypes, it can really cost them momentum, and equally can for the GT3s as well. It can really split up their own field. So we're seeing these prototypes move by these GT3s, and it's really tricky because it is quite a wide circuit, but actually they're finding it very difficult to pick their spots to overtake. And it's often the argument that we see between prototypes and GT3 drivers in the iRacing community, I suppose, is who really has right of way. There are rules in this championship of who, how to overtake, let's just say LMDH cars approaching GT3 cars. And I've actually got the rule here. It says when under blue flag conditions, GT3 cars must stay on the normal racing line, and it is down to the LMDH cars, the prototypes, to overtake safely. So it's all down to the prototypes, and it means that they're kind of lured into lunging moves on these GT3s in order to save themselves time, not to lose time from their competitors. We look at McCluskey here. He may well have been caught up by some GT3s here, and he's now mere 6 seconds behind Guthrie. And he's only a second ahead of Delayden, who actually had a little bit of a kerfuffle with the GT3s not too long ago. It is quite interesting, and actually what has all this done to the GT3s, and Pachauka has actually moved away from Ben Altria, Edwin Forsland in second place. He's now 3 seconds clear, but Altria has moved himself into third place, and look at all these prototypes passing by. It's quite nail-biting stuff for these GT3s, and look at that, one on the inside, one on the outside. Whoa, that's very close. That's Paul Williams and Jamie Dory passing by. Ben Altria there, and another one on his inside, which is Rui Soares. And Altria is only a few car lengths ahead of Gavin Gardner, and Altria qualified fourth and has got himself into third here. So Ben Altria will be very keen to hang on to this third position spot. Baz Meacham in the silver category of the GT3s has had an incident. The very colourful little fuzzy racing vehicle here. Same corner as we saw Nigel Stock take a spin, and he's also in the BMW as Baz Meacham, and he takes a very similar spin where the brakes just don't seem to work on the rear of the car and it lets go. Now I wonder if this is a track that is not quite an advantage. Hang on a minute, we have got drama here, we have got drama. Paul Williams and Rui Soares have gone wide there at the final corner, and Paul Williams was doing really good. He was hunting down first and second. Now he finds himself in fifth in category as Dwayne Hoffman passes him by. We can get a replay of that as Rui Soares and Paul Williams. And look at that, heading into the final corner. Williams is on the outside, Soares on the inside. Oh, and it's one of those where one turns into the corner and the other one isn't yet in the corner, and a collision is made. Certainly one for the stewards after. I'm not going to be too much of a judge there, but it was a case that Paul Williams was ready to turn into the corner and Soares wasn't. Oh, it's Gavin Gardner, I think that is, has taken a spin right in front of Dwayne Hoffman. We take a replay of that. That was heading out of turn number 5. It looked like, yes, there was contact from the car behind. I don't know if that was Dwayne Hoffman or another full tilt purple car, but that was Gavin Gardner, who was doing really well in the gold category in GT3. He's now got no rear wing, limping to the pits now. He was running fourth, so that is really going to cost him in this race. Ooh, stewards, I'm glad I'm not one of you guys. Oh, there's a spin there from Gardner. We'll move away from Gardner. It's tough enough as it is for him, but with no rear wing on that car, because the damage model on these cars and the prototypes are so advanced now that when you get a rear end hit and it ruins your bodywork, it just mangles your car and you can't control it. I had an incident in the Nürburgring 24 Hours where I got hit on the rear, my rear bumper fell off, and I had no rear end grip. It meant I was limping home to the pits as we see a spin from Miguel Alpalau there. It's all happening in this race. It really, really is. This is heading into turn number 5, the dreaded turn number 5. And that is, yeah, the rear of the car just didn't want to slow down. And it heads round. Our plough is third now, so Nathan Healy, bit of a dark horse, it's got to be said, within this race, has found himself in second place in category here. Brilliant, brilliant stuff from him. Dwayne Hoffman is in fourth in category as well. And he's in the clear from Paul Williams, who's had to pit, I believe. This is real drama in this race, and we've still got 5 minutes to go in this race. Guthrie's enjoying it. He's 7 seconds in the lead in the bag at the moment, and looking well and truly for a strong victory yet again, unless anything else happens. I mean, anything can happen. Wide berth around the Crest Autosport car. There goes Guthrie. Daniel Fritz, our friend from down under, in the bronze category here. Something's happened to him, and he's in the green car at the bottom of our screen there. Yep, the brakes haven't worked on the car again, and that's a BMW. That's the third BMW we've seen slide round on the rear with lack of grip. And I said earlier on, there'll be certain cars that will be more advantageous on certain tracks than others. I think we're finding a little bit of the opposite here, where the BMW might be the underdog on this circuit. As we see a front bumper missing from one of the Porsches there. Couldn't quite figure out who that was there, but a lot of wounded cars out on the track at the moment. It's only a sprint race as well. We got the feature race to come up later. There's a lot of wounded cars out there, and yeah, it's really taken its toll, this race has, on these drivers. So our leaders in each category, we have got Guthrie at the front for the gold. Fourth overall, but first in silver category is Diogo Sá, giving a flash to the BMW just ahead to say, get out of my way, and makes his way past the CXR livery just there. I think that was Daniel Fritz. Or as we see, a potential overtake. No, it wasn't Daniel Fritz. I am still getting used to these liveries, everyone. Okay, so the leader of the silvers is Diogo Sá. Golds in the GT3s. Pachalka leads, near 4 seconds in front. It's not in the bag just yet, because Forsland is just back here. Pachalka hasn't got this in the bag yet, but he certainly is having a pain-free run at the moment. Jake Pitt leads the silvers. Now, we haven't really paid too much attention dialogue-wise to the standings in the silvers here, but Jake Pitt leads here. And he did do very well last time out at Mugello. I believe he got second place in the feature race. And Bennyworth in second, not too far behind. So it is well and truly still on between these two drivers. Kruger leads the bronze category. And as I mentioned, he won in the bronze category in the sprint race last time out at Mugello. Oh, he's got Cheverton right in front of him there. And I think that's Ricardo Santos also just in front of him. But Kruger has got a fairly commanding lead of 13.5 seconds ahead of Favo. And there's actually a lot of bronze category drivers not on track at the moment. Yes, I believe there are a few drivers in the pits for the bronze category. Going to pay close attention to this silver category battle as Bennyworth trying to close in on Jake Pitts here. Really not that much between these two drivers. Oh, as off there goes Wesley Lewin trying to get past full position, outright position overall anyway, 419th. Guthrie will start his final lap here. The white flag will wave in the gantry on the right hand side. We'll see it surely. There he is, the marshal waving the white flag for Guthrie to tell him it's his final lap. Remember, the white flag on iRacing means you're on your final lap. In European racing, it means there's a slow moving vehicle on the track. It might be, but in this case it means it's the final lap. Certainly a standout drive tonight is Diego Sá, who is third overall, really mixing it in with the gold category here, and first in his category. So this has been quite a standout performance from him within this race, it's got to be said. Pachauka and Guthrie in the gold categories, day in the office for them. You would think that in the gold category it'd be more competitive between the drivers because it's a higher category. You just naturally would think that, but these drivers really are stamping their name on these categories at the moment with 3 races down in the season. Oh, as Guthrie had to lift off the throttle a little bit there as the GT3 car. I think that might be a battle for position back there. Oh no, it wasn't, it was a lapped car. But anyway, we've got our victors to greet here. We've got William Guthrie moving round the final corner here, and he takes the checkered flag to win the opening race of the night. Diego Sá will be the next to cross the line, and he'll take a win in the silver category, and third overall. A brilliant performance from Diego in this race. Pachauka may well have crossed the line around about the same time as Guthrie did. That's quite fitting. But Pachauka will take P1 in the golds, unless he is on another lap here. We can't quite tell with our system here. And Jake Pitt crossed the line to finish first. Ben Bennyworth couldn't quite catch him, but Jake Pitt, his opening win of the season. And Kruger crossed the line to take another win in the bronze category. I don't think he competed in the feature race last time out at Mugello, but it's certainly showing that Kruger has got what it takes to be top at the bronze category, and we'll see how he can get on in this feature race here today. I believe Pachauka has to complete another lap here, so we'll stick with him, and we'll move on to the results very, very shortly. After this sprint race, we are going to have a fairly extended break, but of which time you can check out the screenshots and pictures taken by Benji Sim Racing, one of the partners of NXTGEN Racing, while in the interval to the brilliant photography skills of Ben McCluskey. That's Benji Sim Photos, as Pachauka will come round the final corner and will come into the pits. So he did already take the checkered flag, but just in case, we had to stick with him. So there we go. That was the opening race of the night and round 3 of the season in our race 3 of the season, our second round of the championship. So here are the results, and we'll start with the prototype golds. So the winner in category was William Guthrie. He's made it 3 from 3 so far, and he wins by near 10 seconds above Benjamin McCluskey in second position. Max DeLeading takes third place. Although he wasn't third overall, he does take third in category, and that's where the points matter. And he gets it above Gaz Williams. Jamie Dory takes 5th place with Rui Soares in 6th. And 7th place, rounding off the finishers in the prototype golds, is Hugo Silva. The prototype silvers. Diego Sá takes the win by near 14 seconds from his teammate Miguel Alpalau, whom of which he was battling with, but drama for Alpalau drops him down in terms of time, but it still finishes second position. Nathan Healy, who had second place for a moment in the race, does in the end take third position for the Full Tilt Purple team, and his teammate behind in 4th place, bringing home those points, is Dwayne Hoffman. A lap or more down are 5th place Paul Williams, Jorge Bentes in 6th, and Wesley Lewin in 7th. Onto the GT3s in the gold category first. Carol Pachauka takes 3 from 3 in the GT3s, but Edvin Forsland not too far behind, second position for the Simrace Sweden eSport team. Near 10 seconds behind the winner, Ben Altria takes 3rd position, and Russ Fowler takes 4th position. Jesse Payne Wilkins just behind as they came across the line for 5th place, and Ricardo Santos takes 6th position. Edwin Simpson in 7th with Alan McCain, 8th place, and Gavin Gardner we saw had drama, but it looks like he had to retire. He was 9th position and a few laps down. GT3 Silvers. We saw Jake Pitt takes the win by just a second over Ben Bennyworth, keeping him honest at the latter end of that race there. Matthew Cheverton, the championship leader for the silver category, takes third position, with Baz Meacham just behind in fourth position. Nigel Stock takes fifth position, with Phil McDougall in sixth position and Mike Reedner in seventh. The bronze category. Jeffrey Kruger takes a second sprint win of the season, and teammate of the Isit team in CSA, Davide Favo, takes second position, but near 17 seconds down. Third position, Daniel Fritz. We did see he had drama in that race, but managed to bring it home for third, with Andy Rooney just behind in fourth position. A lap or multiple laps down for Andy Chell in fifth, Stephen de Gravelia in sixth, and Elwyn Sykes in seventh. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That was the second race of the night. Sorry, the first race of the night. The second race of the night is coming up very shortly. It will be a 60-minute feature race. We will see pit stops in this race, and no doubt we'll see drama, as we just saw then, as cars lapping each other and cars into the pits, cars on strategy, cars trying to get through the field with the reverse grids as well. So there's plenty to watch. But in the meantime, we are going to go for a quick break before the feature race gets underway. Probably about 15-20 minutes before we see on-track action. But in the meantime, enjoy these pictures from Benji Sim Photos. We'll see you very shortly for the final race of the night.